Welcome to the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast with me, Venus O'Hara. An orgasmic lifestyle is about reaching a climax in all areas of life, not just in the bedroom. Here, we dive deep with expert guests on topics like nutrition, spirituality, personal development, sexuality, and much more. Together, we'll explore lifestyle lessons to help you lead a life that's fulfilling, joyful, and unapologetically orgasmic. I'm your guide, Venus O'Hara. Welcome to episode 167 of the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast with Venus O'Hara. In this new moon episode, we discuss ethical non-monogamy. We speak with Courtney Boyer, who is a relationship coach, and she is in a mono-poly marriage. That means that she's polyamorous, but her husband is monogamous. This is very interesting. And I also review the book Come As You Are, revised and updated, the surprising new science that will transform your sex life by Emily Nagoski. And the episode ends with a meditation with affirmations for polyamorous or ethically non-monogamous relationships. And this episode is sponsored by Sparcom, an award-winning pleasure product brand. You can use my code VENUS35 for a 35% discount on anything site-wide on their website, sparcom.com, and that's SVAKOM.com. I love exploring relationship styles and also learning about what works for different couples and how they come to these arrangements and all the tools they have to communicate their needs, desires, and boundaries. And as you know, I've interviewed many different couples on here, or people who have different types of relationship. And my own preference is more towards elective monogamy, where people are choosing monogamy rather than feeling restricted from seeing other people. And that said, I'm still very intrigued about how different people live with different ideologies around relationships. And today's guest has a monopoly. Sounds like Monopoly, the board game. Monopoly relationship. And that means that one partner is monogamous and the other one is polyamorous. And we speak to Courtney Boyer, who is the polyamorous partner in her relationship. And I'm very intrigued about this. And I do think that this type of relationship is a lot more common than we think, especially people who are living like this. One person is seeing other people and one isn't, but without the magic C word of consent. And it's not consensual. I mean, I know so many people who are, let's say, playing away, or they want to open up and they have a real double standard. It's like, it's okay for me, but not my partner. And I've also been in situations where someone has tried to give me the idea that we were in a monogamous relationship when it was really more friends with benefits. I think they wanted to just kind of reserve me. And one analogy I would think of is, I mean, here in Spain, in Mallorca especially, all of the tourists get very annoyed with some of the Germans or Brits who get up early in the morning and they rush down to the hotel or wherever, or even the beach, and they put their towels on the sun loungers to try and reserve them, even when they're not using them. It's kind of like, I'm going to take over this sun lounger. Even though I'm not using it, I don't want to let anyone else use it. And that's the kind of thing that that dynamic that I've been into. So someone helped making me think that we were in a monogamous dynamic, but they were really, pretending to be single, which is worrying, let's say. And also I have friends who claim to be open and into different lifestyles, even swinging, but it's not okay for their partner. And I just really question that double standard. However, when it's done from a place of consent, desire, and everyone's open and boundaries are respected, it's a very, very different conversation. It's still intriguing though, nonetheless, to try and explore why is it one way for one person and the other way for someone else. And can that really work if you're both if you both have different ideas about how you want the relationship to work, and can they really work together? So with all these questions in mind, I'm going to go straight into today's interview because it's so intriguing and I cannot wait to share it with you. So if you're interested in exploring a new type that we haven't spoken about before here anyway, a different type of non-monogamy, then keep listening. This is a very interesting conversation. Seeing as we're talking about pleasure and relationships with Courtney Boyer, why not explore a new pleasure product? I've partnered with Svarcom, an award-winning pleasure brand that offers a wide range of premium products made from body-safe materials. Whether you're looking for a wand massager, rabbit vibrator, clitoral stimulator, wearable vibrator, stroker, cock ring, or something completely different, there's something for everyone, no matter what your relationship style is. And to make your shopping experience even more orgasmic, you can enjoy 35% off site-wide with my exclusive discount code Venus35. Simply visit svarcom.com, that's SVAKOM.com, and enter the code Venus35 at checkout. And treat yourself to something that brings you pleasure. The link is also in the show notes below. Enjoy! Now it's time for this episode's interview. We speak with Courtney Boyer, and she is a relationship coach, and she's in a mono-poly marriage. Let's hear more about that. Courtney Boyer, welcome to the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast, where every day is a climax. How are you today?
Oh, I love that introduction. That is fantastic.
Amazing. So to tell us, for those who are unfamiliar with your work, could you tell us what you do?
Yeah, so I am, a relationship and sexuality expert and author.
Mm.
Sorry. And I help people reconnect with their desire and prioritize pleasure.
So what inspired you to follow this path?
Oh, well, that's a long story. So I grew up very conservatively in the evangelical Christian church and I always felt myself drawn to sexuality, but it was such a taboo in that community. And so then I was like, you know what? I'm going to make a difference. So I went and studied sexuality and studied therapy. And that is the path that it led me to.
Wow. So when you're in this purity environment, did you always know that sexuality, what was your impression of sexuality? Has it changed?
Oh, for sure. It's definitely changed.
Yeah.
It was this like elusive, taboo, secretive topic that seemed to carry so much power, but I couldn't figure out why. And when I looked at the people in my life to try to figure out, like nobody was talking about it. And I just thought, man, there is something here that I need to understand and uncover.
And tell us about that journey.
Oh, yeah. So I went and got a master's in education in human sexuality, and I identified as Christian back then and was, I think, one of the only Christians in that program and was very immersed in this idea of how sexuality shows up in life and in relationships, and really didn't realize how powerful it was within our own bodies, because that was something that I had been discouraged from doing, is really disconnecting from my body, because our bodies led us away from God because our bodies were sinful. And so it's just funny how this whole path has really led me back home to myself and really back home to my power through my sexuality, like the knowledge of it, but also the experience of allowing myself to understand what sexuality is for me.
Well, I was brought up in a very Catholic
Okay.
environment, so I kind of understand that journey from, well, maybe it's a different path, but it's, all that sin and then sex education. So what was the sex education that you received like?
Oh, this is my husband and I were just talking about this on our YouTube channel because I talk about it in my book, and we didn't have formal sex education. We had family life education,
Mm.
and this woman who was just one of the moms of at our Christian school came in and talked about like she started the session by ripping up a piece of paper, and she said
Mm.
that every time that you have sex with somebody other than your spouse, you rip a part of yourself and give it away.
Mm-hmm.
And then like after she was done, there's just a a puddle of ripped pieces of paper on the floor. So I would say that sexuality was there's a lot of fear in it. You're gonna get STDs. HIV was really rampant when I was like back in high school, and so there was so much fear around sex, and you're gonna go to hell. You're gonna disappoint God. You're gonna disappoint your future spouse and your future family. Do you want to do that?
Mm. Well, it's just going to keep people that purity culture then. So,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
keeping them contained.
Wow. And then like guilt as well.
Oh, so much guilt, so much shame. Like what's it's
Okay.
so, these natural desires of how we've been designed as humans were, weaponized against us.
Mm. My experience was more just focused on puberty and
Okay.
and reproduction,
Mm, okay.
so that was it. There was no clitoris or
Oh yeah.
orgasm.
No, 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 no.
So where did you get your real sex education from? Do you have any other resources?
Oh gosh, I was so curious. Like I remember when I was 12, I looked up the word masturbation in the dictionary and I spelled it Master, and I was like, why is this word not in the dictionary? Because I hear people using it, but it's actually Mastur.
Yeah.
And so then I would do things like that where I would hear something and then I'd go to the encyclopedia. Like there wasn't an internet. um, and I would look thing and I would go to bookstores and go to like the sexuality section and just be so drawn to it, but felt like, oh, I can't be caught. Like this is so bad. So yeah, I think it was more, I wouldn't say, I got the mechanics, you watch some Cinemax and you see some mechanics and
Mm.
you figure that out. But yeah,
Mm.
I was definitely a student when it came to sexuality.
Yeah, for me it was the female magazines, women's magazines in the 90s. They were just
Oh,
such a huge help.
duh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But those I had to be careful with because they are, the church and the school, they were promoting things that
Mm.
was, sinful. So it was a
Mm.
very fine line that I had to walk. There was this lure and curiosity intellectually, but also sexually myself. But then
Mm.
it was this dichotomy because I was like, but I can't be wanting to do that. I can't be wanting to desire this.
Mm. Yeah, there's a magazine in the UK called More,
Oh,
Smart
okay.
Girls Get More. And it was kind of scandalous because they had this thing called Position of the Fortnight, and they would have difficulty ratings and stuff. And people were so scandalized by it, they wanted to put it on the top shelf in the newsagents. But it was the only place where there was real, like, frank conversations about all the things you want to know.
Yeah.
And a book that inspired me a lot when I was growing up was Forever by Judy Blume. Do you know that book?
Oh, Judy Bloom. I remember. Are you there? God, it's me, Margaret.
Yeah, the period one.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Gosh, I totally forgot about those. Man, memories.
Yeah, because all those questions that you have as a child, you kind of like you feel ashamed if you
Yes.
ask anyone. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I didn't ever like feeling ignorant. Like I
Mm,
didn't want to talk to adults about things because it made me feel stupid. I didn't feel like I could come to them with these questions because then they were like talking down to me. I always wanted to be equipped and prepared and wise.
mm. So when you were studying sexology or sexology, was
Mhm.
it? How was it being the only Christian in the group? Did that give you a different perspective, or I mean, I'm sure it served you in a way,
Yeah,
this
I would say
experience.
I was the boring one because I got married
Yeah.
when I was 22. So I was married in graduate school and there were people there who were, I mean, it was my first exposure to like non-monogamy and thruples and polyamory and transgenderism. And I'm just like, what is happening? But I wasn't judgmental about it at all. I was really in this space of curiosity of, gosh, it's so fascinating that they live their life this way. I don't feel drawn to that personally, but I find I'm just so curious and like I wanted to like watch them and like understand it and uh Christians were definitely thrown under the bus quite a bit, but at the time we deserved it. Yeah, I mean, I
Mm,
couldn't disagree with a lot of the abstinence only stuff that was being, perpetuated, and we had to fight against a lot of the things that Christians were championing for. So I felt
mm.
probably more drawn to my classmates and my colleagues than I did to a lot of people in my own faith community.
Yeah, in my experience, I was brought up in the UK, so there's kind of like a very Protestant,
Hmm.
environment, but I was in a Catholic school, so in this kind of like cocoon,
Oh,
we still have
yeah.
that awareness of what's outside the cocoon, because like you're still playing on your street with friends from the Protestant school, so you have
Yeah.
this awareness. Also in the media, you see different depictions of sexuality, etc. So for
Yeah.
me, it was really interesting because sex education, I know in the Protestant school, they were putting condoms on cucumbers and stuff. But
Oh, yeah.
condoms were just not part of our, our sex education at all. But then
Yeah.
my school was getting the most teenage pregnancies. So, you know, it was just so interesting. This ignorance just didn't serve in the end because
Yeah.
everyone's getting pregnant. And you left school at 16, then by the time you're 18, you've seen all your classmates push strollers round,
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a big problem with that in the UK. I'm not sure what it's like these days, but I know when I was growing up, it was like the highest number of teenage pregnancies in Europe or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the late 90s, early 2000s weren't great for the US for teen pregnancies either.
Wow. So did you learn about STDs and stuff, or just like just sex is just gonna give you
No, we learned
problems?
it. Yeah, no, it was more like the names of them, and like they're
Okay.
in the genital region and like
Mm,
this is a result of sin, and your
mm.
bad choices and your lack of self-control. That was a big
Wow.
thing. Hmm.
Wow. So how has your relationship with God evolved then in this journey?
Oh gosh. Yeah, a lot. I think when I wrote my first book, Not Tonight, Honey, like really researched women and sexuality and the history of women's bodies and women's, sexual autonomy, which, it was pretty non-existent. And so for me, it was hard to stay in the church, which is one of the reasons I left, knowing that people would use God or use the authority of God to oppress and abuse women and I mean other, groups of people. But I just was like, man, this is not so I would say I still believe in like a higher being. Sometimes I call it goddess or God or the universe or whatever, but I don't align with a religious doctrine or dogma.
Okay. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's more, I feel the same. It took me a long time to come back to spirituality. And I think
Yes.
sexuality is such a celebration of
Hmm.
spirituality as well. And I guess the assumption would be that a lot of people would, let's say, from your community, would judge you for this path. But have you found the opposite? Let's say people confiding in you and kind of seeing you as an approachable person because of this path.
I would say yes and no.
Mm,
I've definitely lost friends over it, especially having come out as polyamorous. There are
mm,
people who they're just so much fear, like they just can't
mm,
hold it. Like there's the cognitive dissonance for them is just off the charts, and so it's easier to remove themselves or remove me from their life. I would say that I do have people that will reach out to me who tend to be more religious and more conservative because they know that I'm not going to be judgmental
mm,
and they see that in their community and feel that I'm far enough removed that I have the background to understand where they're rooted in, but then not. It's not that I'm not holding them accountable, but I'm not using their own rules against them.
mm. Because my experience was like it was just more about appearance than actual deeds,
Mm,
So
yeah,
it's more about looking good.
yeah.
That's more important
Mhm.
than doing good.
Yeah. I would say I had a lot of really hardcore. They were into looking good and having this like deep personal relationship with Jesus and like being, like evangelists and outward. I will say that I have had more people who look really good on the outside now that are not necessarily religious, but they, are popular for a variety of reasons, whether they're, creators online or, popular in the media who will reach out to me because I don't know, they just feel like I'm a safe space, which I am. And I, protect their confidentiality and privacy. But it is interesting how appearances play such a powerful role.
Definitely. The one question I have about purity culture, is it
Mhm.
just the focus on women or is it for men as well? Do people care about men's virginity?
It's both. I would say that I see the emphasis more on women being the sexual gatekeepers of society, and men are just kind of seen as like these lost sexual causes. Like Jimmy can't control that he's just a horn dog, and like your bra strap is going to cause him to buckle. And so it's really the onus is put more on the woman, I see. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of really harmful messaging, and men that I've worked with who really struggle with this idea of masculinity and like, I don't want sex all the time, or I don't want to be this like leader, provider, alpha, that I'm told that I have to be. And so I would say that it's harmful just in different ways.
Okay. So tell us about your handle on Instagram is monopoly.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah. So I have two, and that's
okay.
the mono poly couple. That's
Uh-huh.
my. I mean, my husband he doesn't go on social media. I run it, but it's to share about our marriage. My husband's monogamous. I'm polyamorous, and then we have a YouTube channel where we do videos together where we talk about what it's like being in a mixed orientation marriage.
So tell us about that. How was that journey and how did it
Yeah.
evolve?
Well, it's been interesting. Um, I don't even know where to begin with that.
You wrote a book about it.
I did. I wrote a book about it. I have it here. It's called Opened. Yay.
Okay. I love it. Let's describe the
Oh,
cover to
the
those who
cover. Yeah.
haven't seen it.
So
It's
it
very
is
cool.
an
Yeah.
open bird cage. It's gold and glistening, pretty bird cage. And then the O, it's purposefully like not closed all the way.
And the
Oh,
bird has flown.
yeah. And I really felt trapped most of my life. I felt like I had to be this perfect Christian wife and mom, and I'll do all the right things. And I was. I was this like super overachiever, PTA president, making my own sunscreen and laundry detergent for my family while still owning my own business and crushing the world. And I just was so unhappy. And it was because I was so disconnected from my body, from my sexuality. And in my marriage, I felt really unseen. And so after 17 years, I asked my husband for an open marriage because I thought, oh, that is the way to keep my family together, but get my needs met. And he did not love that idea.
Well, so how would you if someone's in that situation, how do you bring that up? How do you bring
Oh,
that up in a way
well,
that's not
yeah. So on our 17th wedding anniversary dinner, I asked for a threesome, even though I did not want a threesome. I just wanted to bring up this topic, and that was the first thing that popped into my head. It's like, hey, what if we had a threesome? It's actually the opening scene of the book. And he was like, what? What? And then it just went downhill from there. But then the seed had been planted, and I said, would you at least consider non-monogamy if I sent you information about it? And he was like, I don't ever think I will be able to support that, but sure. And so that is where we started. And then 3-ish years later, he came to me and said, what if we did a YouTube channel? And I was like, about what? I'm like, you're not even like barely on social media. And he's like, about our life. Like we can help other people. Like we can show other people that you can be mono or monopoly or, how whatever it is, and that you can create a beautiful life. And I was like, okay, let's do it. So that's where we're at now.
well, I think of monopoly. I think a lot of couples actually have that framework, but there's no consent involved. I think that's
Oh,
existing
sure.
already.
Yeah.
So many people I know, especially it's more the man like when they travel for work or whatever, and then
Yeah.
they expect. I've had lots of male friends who have that type of lifestyle, and
Interesting.
but obviously not with consent. It's kind of like, that it's just they're cheating actually.
Yeah.
But
That
they
is cheating.
assume
Yeah.
that their wife, she would never do it. It's kind of like one rule for me. As long as I'm
Yeah.
providing, being a good husband and a good father,
Interesting.
then
Yeah.
if I play away, then it doesn't really matter. I still come home tomorrow. And, especially when travel for work, I think that's kind of like a window of opportunity for some people. And I think there's a double
Yeah.
standard in sometimes. So tell us about that, because that must, because I guess a lot of couples who are doing this in a way that's, not with consent, they just assume that their partner is never going to cheat or something. But obviously it's
Mm,
not cheating if there's consent.
yeah.
But how do you navigate that? How is that like having one kind of style for one and not for the other?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's incredibly unethical and harmful.
Hmm.
And as a relationship expert, I think that is one of the ways to completely, I think it's super disrespectful
Absolutely.
um, to, and it's interesting because actually women are more likely to ask for an open relationship than men.
Mm.
which a lot of people are surprised by because there's this assumption that like, well, women don't want sex as much. And it's like, oh no, we do. We just, a lot of us don't want the mediocre sex that we're getting. So we'd rather, we would still want it though. And so that's why a lot of women do opt out of sex in their relationships is because it's not the sex that they want. And they don't feel safe to bring up, this is the kind of sex that I want, or they're unable to advocate for their needs or whatever it is. But I think that if you think that it is acceptable to do something that is in such this is tough. I'm trying not to sound like a judgmental bitch.
Do it.
Because yeah, I mean, I think for me, I have worked so hard to be really honest and transparent, and that comes at a cost. But the benefits of that is incredible. So sure,
That
you
comes at a
may.
cost. Tell us what's the cost.
Oh, freak. I mean, I get called some of really awful things
Oh, I
online.
mean from other people, not
Oh,
from.
from other
Okay,
people,
okay.
even in my marriage, like going to my husband and honestly asking for what I wanted took an immense amount of work. Time, money, energy. We went to couples therapy, individual therapy. We had conversations, we had arguments, we had blowups. Like we invested so much into rewriting the rules and reconstructing our marriage that so many people think like I'm gonna skip all that. I'm just gonna like do what I want to do. And so
Mm.
you either, my philosophy is you pay now or you pay later.
Mm. Because the
And we
guilt would be
paid now.
terrible if you love that person, then
Yeah.
yeah, that guilt. And also it's just the consent about, that though these other people who don't have that agreement,
Yeah.
there's no consent involved. And also, when people are fluid bonded in relationships, then other people are bringing risks in. I think it's just really crazy. I live in Spain, so here it's kind of like that's kind of very normal, unfortunately. And it's
Yeah.
something that I have witnessed all the time I've been here, and it fascinates me. So people are very very much, obviously this is a huge generalization, but the family unit is just the most important thing.
Yeah.
And that's more important, the appearances, than actually having, real, authentic connections and communication. Obviously, this is not for everyone, but that's something I've witnessed quite a lot here.
Yeah, I've noticed.
Mm,
So it's funny because I've dated a lot of different ethnicities and
mm,
nationalities living in Europe, and I see that with Italian men when I've
mm,
dated them. Funny enough, I've never dated a Spanish guy,
mm.
which is so odd because I've Portuguese, France, lots of other ones around there, but
There's
never
great
Spanish.
ones here.
Yeah,
Some great
but
guys
it
here.
but it
Yeah.
is, yeah, no, they
Mm,
are beautiful men. It's not for a lack of me not being interested. But I find that really hard because it's something where when I've dated like Italian men, for example, most of them are like, I'm never going to introduce you to my family. You will be this secret kind of
mm,
thing, even if they're single and monogamous. Like, it's not, I don't date cheaters, so I've never dated somebody who's like behind their partner's back. But even if they were, married, I don't think that I would have a presence because of their cultural emphasis, like you said, on that
mm.
family unit.
We'll get back to the conversation in just a moment. But seeing as we're talking about pleasure, I thought this would be the perfect time to mention one of my favorite pleasure brands. This episode is sponsored by Svarcom, an award-winning sexual wellness brand that creates beautifully designed, body-safe toys to help you explore pleasure, whether you're playing solo or with a partner. Their collection includes everything from clitoral stimulators and wand massagers to rabbits, wearable vibrators, strokers, cock rings, and much more. If you'd like to discover something new, you can enjoy 35% off site-wide at svarcom.com. That's SVAKOM.com with my exclusive code Venus35. The link is also in the show notes below. Now, let's get back to the conversation with Courtney Boyer. I've interviewed a lot of people on this podcast who have polyamorous relationships. There's obviously
Hmm.
different types. So
Yeah.
what is yours then? Is yours like kind of kitchen table, everything's shared? Is that?
Gosh, it's a weird blend. So I have one other partner, and
Mm,
him and I are both max. So he's married and poly like me,
mm,
and he's a dad. I'm a mom, and we just want one other romantic partner. So we don't date other people besides our spouses. So I guess it's like closed sort of.
Mm.
But I've met his wife. I've gone out to dinner with just her and me one on one. I have like we text sometimes. He's met my husband. My husband's met the wife. Like, but my husband doesn't want to know what I do sexually with him,
Mm.
and his wife is the same. She doesn't want to know. But everything else is shared. Like, oh, how's he doing with work? How was their vacation? How was, those kinds of things. We live in different countries, so it's not like he can just like pop on over and like have a beer like every
Mm.
Saturday or
So
something.
mm.
So I would say it's kind of a blend between kitchen table and garden party.
Okay.
But everyone's like aware of everyone.
So what's garden party? I've never heard that term before.
Garden party is like, oh, I'm going to see you a few times a year at like
Mm.
a garden party or a birthday party or a
Mm.
holiday. And I'm good to, chat with you and connect with you, but I don't need you in my house to like
Mm.
sit and like shoot
Gonna
the
wash
shit.
your socks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's there's a little bit more distance, and I think my husband prefers that. Although he really likes my partner, I think if we all lived closer, we would do more things together because we just have so much more in common, and our kids are similar, kind of similar ages. Um, but yeah, and I'm happy with the constellation or arrangement.
Hmm. A lot of people would presume that who don't live this lifestyle that it's about sex, but obviously
Yeah,
it's more than that. So what needs do you
yeah.
feel get met thanks to this relationship structure?
Yeah, it's funny because I always laugh when people are like, "Oh, it's about sex." I'm like, I
Mm.
see him like once a month,
Mm.
because again, he's in England and I'm in Germany, and
Mm.
like we'll spend a night together, spend a couple days together, and that's it. So the majority of our relationship is emotional and intellectual, and so we, text each other good morning, and like he was like, "Hey, I hope your podcasts go great today," and he's on a job and like telling me about that or a new customer he has, or I tell him about things that I'm struggling with, and we have random conversations about like, oh, we talked about fairies. Like, do you think fairies exist? Like, so it meets my intellectual and emotional needs. It's like having another best friend that I also am ridiculously attracted to.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
So so, so how would you feel if your husband was to change the dynamics one day, or if he was
Mhm.
curious about opening up? How do you think
Oh,
you?
I'd give him a high five and tell him get out there and have a great time. He is an amazing man. I think
Mm.
he is a great communicator, a great lover. He's funny, he's attractive. Any woman would be lucky to have her or have him in her life in whatever capacity. So I don't, yeah, I think that we need like more men like him. And if he can be an example of the kind of love or communication or friendship in another woman's life, like awesome.
Wow. So what advice would you give to someone who is curious about this? And did you have any mentors yourself about the monopoly? I've never heard of it before. So is there
Oh,
anyone that's inspired you to personally?
no, I didn't
Who?
know anybody. And that's
Mm.
100% the reason why we came out the way we did,
Mm.
is because when I was, deconstructing my relationship and really looking at like, how am I going to make this work? I looked online and all the, content creators who were poly did not look like me. They weren't parents, they weren't long-term married, they weren't like professionals, a lot of, and there's no shade to this because it's part of the community. They were like, gender fluid, bisexual, polyculed in Berlin with their
Mm.
like 17 partners. And there's nothing totally wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at
Mm.
all. But I was like, how does this gonna work for me? Like I'm just like a mom next door that like drives carpool and, loves going to football games, and how does polyamory look like in my life? So there was so much shame and loneliness in the beginning of my journey and in me and my husband's journey figuring this out. And so that's why we were like, hey, we want to show people that like quote unquote, not that they're not normal, but like your average suburban educated, population can make this work.
Wow. So what would you say were the biggest challenges of this lifestyle, of this relationship life?
Well, the first thing that pops into my head is society.
Mm.
It is really hard to navigate this with the society that we live in. We had one other couple that were really close friends of ours, but they were poly and opening it up at the same time. But other than that, I didn't know anybody that I was close friends with or even kind of friends with. I mean, I had some colleagues I knew who were poly, but they were back in the US. And so there was so much shame around, how do I tell my kids this? How do I explain this to my in-laws? How do I explain this to my friends? I just, there was no like blueprint or manual, and I felt so overwhelmed and full of shame. So I think society makes it really hard. I was messaging with this guy yesterday who, I think he's like a politician or something, and he is really involved in his kids' lives, and he's in corporate and all this stuff. And him and his wife are poly, but nobody knows that. They're closeted. And I said, how do we create a more loving world and a more accepting world if all of us, like professional parents that are poly, stay closeted? And I said, there's no judgment for you, because obviously I'm out, but I don't know what that answer is, because he's terrified of the repercussions of coming out as poly and how that would impact his business and his political career and all of that. So I think that the hardest part is how society, how much it will impact you.
So how has this helped your marriage?
Oh, so many ways. There were issues that we wouldn't have had to face if we stayed monogamous.
Mm.
We could have just been keeping on and being just fine. But when you open it up and you really have to like lift up all the rugs and all of the things, and you're like, oh, that's a trigger. Oh, that's an abandonment wound. Oh, that's that. And really double down on your communication. Really, like, why are we together? What is the nature of our marriage? And also our sex life exploded. Like, there was so much energy coming from me now, because I felt like I was like unlocked my most authentic self. And when you get to live authentically, it is like
Mm.
an explosion. It's like an
Mm.
orgasm. It's a very
Mm.
orgasmic way of living. And that made me so confident and want to connect with my husband, and him. That was such a turn on for him. So, like, our sex life and our emotional life just really deepened.
Mm. So one thing I admire a lot about polyamorous couples is the communication skills that they have, and also the bravery or the courage to approach, very taboo topics
Hmm.
like jealousy or desire for someone else,
Yep.
boredom, those types of things.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot.
Mm.
Like, it takes a lot of courage to have these conversations and to be able to receive the feedback from your partner and be like,
Mm.
oh, I don't like how I said, like, how that's being perceived. And, when you're monogamous, you don't have to, you're like, well, this is it. Okay. This is
Mm.
what we're doing.
So do you have any tips for people in that situation who might be who have maybe fragile egos or just don't want to hear that, or even just not just from polyamorous, but all around? Because I think I actually interviewed Ali Eisman
Oh, I love
recently.
Allie. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and I've interviewed a lot of people who have polyamorous styles, relationship styles,
Yeah.
ethical non-monogamy. I didn't want to get into that old trope of just the jealousy, because that we've
Yeah.
heard that all the time. I've
Yeah.
also interviewed what's her name, Dr. Jolie Hamilton, who's super interesting. He's just like really taken a deep dive into jealousy. But what was
Mm.
interesting with Ali is that we spoke about communication, and this can apply to any type of relationship.
Yeah.
And I think that's just so interesting. So, do you have any tips that you've learned in your relationship style that could apply to any type of relationship style when it comes to communication or just being open about your desires?
I think one of the things that I have noticed for me, and this didn't really come out until we opened the marriage, was my need to want to fix my husband's
Mm.
feelings. So
Mm.
he would feel a certain way. Let's say it's not, he doesn't get jealous and like, oh my gosh, you're with another man. It's like, oh man, Courtney's doing something fun and I wish I could do that with her, type of thing.
Mm.
And so when that kind of discomfort in him like flares up, I want to go and solve it, or I want to rationalize it and be like, yes, but remember when you went to go do this fun thing and I didn't get to, instead of just sitting in that discomfort. And so I think that my tip would be, when your partner is vulnerable and shares their feelings with you, your job is not to fix it or to solve it. It is to sit in it and to see it.
Mm.
And that will make your relationship, regardless of the style, so much stronger, because so often when we bring, it's like a present or a package. I'd say a package. Bring a package to our partner and we say, I've been carrying this and this feels really heavy. And they put it down in front of us, instead of us saying, okay, I'm going to chuck it out so we don't have to deal with this package anymore, or I'm just going to carry it for you. I'm just going to carry it for you. We just sit there and do you want to unpack it together, or we can just sit here with it and just talk about it. And that is so much more powerful than a temporary chucking fix.
Mm-hmm. What do you think were the biggest myths about your relationship style?
That my husband's a cuck. That's probably a big one. That he's gay. It's funny how other men, it's always coming from other men, want to try to oh gosh, what's the word? Not demasculate,
Yeah.
emasculate another man who is supporting their wife or their partner in such an empowering, non-traditional way. So those are usually the two things that these
I think it
myths.
shows immense strength. It's the
Oh,
opposite.
exactly.
Yeah.
I think another myth too is that like we don't have sex, like that, oh, there's like you guys, she needs to get that need met for somewhere else instead of, oh, she just has the capacity to hold more of that and desires more of it. And so it's the myths typically are there's something wrong in the relationship as opposed to there's an opportunity for expansiveness.
Amazing. So relationship has to be about expansiveness, doesn't it? Not
Yeah.
restriction and
I
any
mean,
type of relationship.
but isn't
Mm,
that's what you want? But in theory, we are so insecure. A lot of us are so insecure that our relationships are really about control and restriction because that makes us feel safe because nope, they won't go anywhere. They're not going to go. They're going to stay with me. And when you take away that expectation and that requirement of exclusivity, it opens up like, oh, they're here by choice. They're
mm,
choosing me. But there's that fear of, well, what if they don't want to choose me?
mm.
Do you really want somebody who doesn't want to be with you? Like they're only there out of obligation?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the element of safety is so important. And also when you mentioned about obligation, that's why it's a different topic, but I always, advocate for women being financially independent
Yeah.
because a lot of women I know are just they have this entitled princess energy
Mm-hmm.
and they want a provider man. But then when later further down the line, if you're just there because you don't have any options, then that's not a very good place to be. Not for
Oh,
the woman or the
absolutely.
man, because the man's like, oh, she's just here because I'm providing,
Yeah.
and then there's no choice. It's not about choice in the end.
Yeah. And if that's the arrangement, then I think it's
Mm,
important that both parties are honest about that and just say, "Hey,
mm,
I'm looking for a meal ticket and I'm just looking for somebody I can bang and have those needs met." It's like, "Cool, you guys as long like let's acknowledge
mm.
it. Okay, and this is what this dynamic is." But to pretend that it's something else, which a lot of people do, that's where you lead to problems.
So where do people really get safety from then? If it's not this kind of like promise of monogamy or control,
Mhm.
let's say what you mentioned earlier, this.
The safety has to come from themselves.
Mm,
You have to feel safe in who you are and love yourself and be grounded in that. No other like arrangement or constellation or relationship style is going to save you or it's going to keep you safe. Like if you in of yourself are expecting that from somebody else, you just gave all your power away.
And how do you do that? Because it's very difficult, isn't it? Because I think
Yeah.
some people find, a partner is kind of like the missing piece, and that's just something we need to,
Yeah.
change our minds about as a
Yeah.
society.
I mean, that's
Mm,
perpetuated in,
mm,
media and
mm,
rom-coms and all these things because that allows us this in codependency as opposed to
mm,
like an interdependence. Like I don't need my husband and I don't need my partner, but I want them both and I can
mm,
have them both. So I choose to create my life and be a part of their lives and them a part of mine. But the short answer is it takes a lot of fucking work. Like
mm,
it takes a lot of work to be your own best friend, to be your own source of safety. You can have people that can help you co-regulate and to help you heal. I truly believe that relationships are the most powerful catalysts that allow us to heal, but it is not out of a dependency. It's out of an opportunity, out of an honor to walk along, one of the people that you love most in this life and be there to support them. But when you start to try to rescue them, you are disempowering them and doing them a disservice.
definitely. So, a couple of questions I ask all of my guests.
Sure.
What is the book that changed your life?
The women's room.
Oh, tell us about that.
So I read it. You know what? I need to go back and like skim it. It's been like 20 some odd years since I was an undergrad. But I read that in a gender politics and law class because I was pre-law originally.
Mm.
Wanted to be a lawyer, high-powered woman. I don't need no man. I'm not getting married in college, all these things. Oh, the universe had other plans. And I read that about this woman who it's like set in the 1950s and she is ambitious and then is like, oh, I can't do anything without a man. And so she gets married, I think she has two boys, and it's just this like slow death of her. And I was like, this is awful. Like she's like unhappy and, you know, trying to survive. I think her husband cheats on her. I don't honestly don't remember. I just remember feeling it I changed my major after that. I was like, I'm going to study sex. I'm not studying law anymore. It just totally changed my life.
Now, who's the author?
I don't oh my gosh.
Is it
I
an
don't
autobiography or is it
No, it's fiction. It's a
Oh
fiction.
wow.
I still have it. The cover's complete. It's so old, the book now. It's
Yeah.
like it's like this little like this book. The cover's like ripped off of it, but I keep it on my bookshelf as a reminder of how one piece of literature or one quote or whatever can completely change the trajectory of your life.
Absolutely. That's why I ask everyone what's the book that
Hmm.
changed your life because
Yeah.
I'm into life-changing books. I want
Yeah.
recommendations
Yeah.
myself. Amazing. So what about a quote or affirmation that you live by?
Oh, so the opening quote to my book is like it's by Paulo Coelho. Coelho? I don't
Mm,
know if you say that right, but it's maybe the journey isn't about becoming anything. Maybe it's about unbecoming everything that isn't really you so that you can be who you were meant to be in the first place.
amazing. That's a whole life journey, isn't it?
Yeah. And so, like,
Also,
for me, I feel like that is what midlife, especially, is all about. It's not a midlife crisis, it's a midlife unbecoming so
mm,
that you can be like, oh, I'm going to take off all these things that people have put on me and like, what's underneath it all?
mm. Go back to almost who you were as a teenager almost. Did you think that was true for you?
Oh, I think,
That's your essence, to like not what everyone was telling you should be, but
yeah. I mean,
mm,
it's funny. I just wanted to be loved and accepted. So I was such a people pleaser, which is why I was an overachiever. And now I'm like, I don't really give a shit what people think. So I'm like the evolved version of my teenage self.
that gives a lot of peace though, doesn't it? You
It
have to,
is. It is.
mm,
Oh, it feels really good.
mm,
Sometimes, yeah, I'd say occasionally I'll be like, oh man, I really want people to like this. But
mm.
um, yeah, I think when we are really connected to our authentic self and in alignment with our desires, that we produce and create things that are, cosmically meant to be out there. And it doesn't really matter if it's read by millions or a few
Well, the right
people.
people will find you.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're also a coach. So tell us how you work.
Yeah, so I was a mental health and sex therapist until about 9-ish years ago, and then switched over to the coaching. And so I kind of blend coaching and therapy, although I'm not licensed anymore. And I work with individuals, I work with couples. Uh, Sometimes I'll just do like a quick one-off session, but for the most part, my favorite is like a 3 to 12 month container where we just like really overhaul and go through. And one of the things I offer my clients is the ability to like send voice notes or texting in between sessions because I think that that's where the most transformation and support occurs as opposed to just, you know, dumping for an hour with somebody once a week or once a 3 weeks.
Yeah, especially when the triggers arise, so you got someone to
Yeah.
reach out to.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's where the most biggest transformations come. It's in those I I just had this fight with my partner and I don't know how to like process why I'm feeling this way. Or somebody made a comment to me. Like I have a client who I woke up to a message this morning because he's on the East Coast of the US. And he's like, yeah, it was, somebody said something to me and it triggered this. And I felt like it went all the way back to where we first started working together. And it was a few hours later and I said, how are you feeling sitting in that now?
Mm.
Like, I want you to really like sit with that. And what do you think that's about? And that actually happened to me a couple days ago where I had something happen with a client and it really upset me. And I was having this emotional reaction. And I was like, oh, like I am human. I have reactions too. And so it's wonderful to be able to support my clients in such a real time, real way.
Just curious. So what would you say the differences between therapy and coaching, and how does that like influence your techniques and how
Yeah.
you?
So therapy, people will often say therapy, you look at the past and how it influences you now, and coaching is looking at how now impacts where you want to go. So I have the ability to do all of it. And so I don't spend a ton of time on the past because to me that's much more of a therapeutic, but I'm trained in EMDR, I'm trained in trauma. Like I have all of those things, so I'm able to ethically and clinically incorporate those skills, but I don't want to I'm not working with clients who are like, I was just sexually assaulted and I want to work through that. Or it's more of, I continue to engage in these similar patterns. Let's look at this. Or I keep attracting men who cheat on me. Or my wife and we keep having the same argument. Or I keep finding myself going from job to job. Or I keep hiring the same type of managers that do whatever. So a lot of times I'm able to look back and help them understand this is what this is rooted in, help work to heal that, and then figure out, okay, what does that look like as we're moving forward with them. So I'm kind of like a guide that's also like ridiculously overeducated.
Oh, great. So you have the whole spectrum.
Yeah.
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 So, and where can people find you?
Yeah, so you can find me at Courtney Boyer Coaching on Instagram, Courtney with a C. My website's CourtneyBoyerCoaching.com. I'm on TikTok, LinkedIn. And then my husband and I are the Mono-Poly couple on Instagram and YouTube.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on the Orgasmic Lifestyle, where every day is a climax.
Thank you.
The book I'm reading now is Come As You Are, the surprising new science that will transform your sex life, by Emily Nagoski. I am so excited about this book, and this book has been in my orbit for many, many years. I know so many people who have been transformed and impacted by it, and I wasn't really attracted to it personally because my personal interests around sexuality are not so much in scientific things at the moment. I think I'm quite into the esoteric, the spiritual side of sexuality, the transcendental side, the woo-woo, even the sex magic and things like that. However, as you probably know, if you've listened to this podcast recently or regularly, I have started studying with the Sexual Health Alliance to become a certified sexologist. And I'm so excited about this. I just started studying recently. And it's one of those things that's bringing me so much joy. I am such a learner. I'm a big learner in terms of, books and therapies and healings and things like that. But studying is not something I've done for a long, long, long time. And now I find the whole process super exciting. It's an online course, and this book is part of the reading list. And there was an extract of this book shared in some of the notes. And I was like, okay, I need to read this now. And I think it's going to be some essential reading. And I've come to understand sexuality in a whole new way. The beginning of the course is focusing on defining sex and defining or kind of establishing what coaching is and how to set yourself up as a coach, but also what it means to be sex positive. That's kind of where I'm at now. So this book, Come As You Are, is a vital reading for the work I'm going to be doing when I'm qualified. So I thought now is the time to read it. So I'm kind of understanding sexuality or seeing it from a whole new lens right now, which is super exciting. And a little bit about this book, if you're interested in female sexuality, evidence-based stuff on female sexuality, then I highly recommend it. So I'll read a little bit from the extract. It says, a revised and updated version of Emily Nagoski's game-changing New York Times bestseller, Come As You Are, featuring new information and research on mindfulness, desire, and pleasure that will radically transform your sex life. For much of the 20th and 21st centuries, women's sexuality was an uncharted territory in science, studied far less frequently and far less seriously than its male counterpart. That is, until Emily Nagoski's Come As You Are, which used groundbreaking science and research to prove that the most important factor in creating and sustaining a sex life filled with confidence and joy is not what the parts are or how they're organized, but how you feel about them. In the years since this book's initial publication, countless women have learned through Nagoski's accessible and informative guide that things like stress, mood, trust, and body image are not peripheral factors in a woman's sexual being. They are central to it. And that even if you don't always feel like it, you are already sexually whole just by being yourself. Wow, I'm so excited about this. So I'm just started to read this book, and I think as I go through it, I'll probably make another more detailed review of it, because I think it's just very interesting for me, almost reading kind of basic stuff about female sexuality, but coming at it from an experienced lens and still seeing it as something new, which I'm not sure if that really explains it, but I'm just fascinated by something that's kind of been in my orbit for such a long time, and now all of a sudden it seems like I really have to read this book right now, especially as I become a sexologist, and I'm so excited about that. And I want to do this course as fast as I can, because I just want to be qualified as fast as I can, without rushing it and without I want to be able to absorb everything in it as well. But I'm very excited about having this evidence-based, qualification behind me. It's going to really open doors and allow me to do even more, reach more people. And it's going to give a lot of good weight to the courses that I am developing as well. So yeah, so if you're interested in female sexuality, I highly recommend it. And I'm definitely going to revisit it, because I know that as I go through the book, I'm going to have many aha moments, as I already am just right at the beginning. So yeah, Come As You Are, the surprising new science that will transform your sex life, by Emily Nagoski. Now it's time for this episode's meditation. Please don't listen to this while driving or operating machinery. Instead, take a break from whatever you're doing, get comfortable, take a deep breath, and enjoy. I attract relationships that inspire growth, joy, and freedom. My relationships are built on honesty, transparency, and consent. I communicate openly and honestly. Every meaningful connection enriches my life. Every relationship supports my growth and evolution. I trust myself and my partners. I welcome love with an open heart. I attract relationships that inspire growth, joy, and freedom. My relationships are built on honesty, transparency, and consent. I attract partners who honor agreements and respect boundaries. Trust strengthens every connection I create. I meet every emotion with curiosity and compassion. I celebrate the joy and happiness of those I love. I welcome love with an open heart. I attract relationships that inspire growth, joy, and freedom. My relationships are built on honesty, transparency, and consent. I express my needs, desires, and boundaries with confidence and kindness. Every conversation deepens intimacy and understanding. Love is abundant and expansive. My heart has a huge capacity for love and connection. I welcome love with an open heart. I attract relationships that inspire growth, joy, and freedom. My relationships are built on honesty, transparency, and consent. My heart expands with every authentic connection. I welcome relationships that nourish my mind, body, and spirit. I honor my desires with confidence and joy. Pleasure is a source of healing, connection, and vitality. I welcome love with an open heart. I attract relationships that inspire growth, joy, and freedom. My relationships are built on honesty, transparency, and consent. I embrace relationships filled with mutual pleasure, respect, and care. I grow through openness, honesty, and self-awareness. My relationships reflect my values. I honor the autonomy and freedom of the people I love. I welcome love with an open heart. I attract relationships that inspire growth, joy, and freedom. My relationships are built on honesty, transparency, and consent. My relationships are rooted in kindness, respect, and compassion. I create loving connections with openness and generosity. Love flourishes through honesty, consent, and mutual respect. Love is a sacred energy that flows freely through my life. I welcome love with an open heart. To find out more about me and my orgasmic lifestyle, visit venusohara.org or follow me on Instagram. The Orgasmic Lifestyle is also on Substack and YouTube, where you can watch all the interviews with our experts. All the links are in the show notes below. Make sure to search for the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast by Venus O'Hara in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or anywhere podcasts are found. And click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Thanks for listening, have an orgasmic week, and make sure every day is a climax.